Welcome to Deer Feet. I'm Jess.
And I'm Renee.
And we're the Deerfoot Sisters. Today we're talking about spring break.
Woohoo!
And traveling.
Yeah.
Woohoo! So, we're going to start with some of our travel tips.
Yes. So even though this episode's about spring break, we haven't actually done like a lot of spring break vacations. So we're just talking about vacation in general.
Yeah. So basically our number one rule when you go on any vacation is to maximize your CP.
And what is CP?
So CP stands for cruise potential. Originally the idea was derived during a cruise or in relation to people not maximizing their cruise potential. So basically what it means is it just means take advantage of all aspects of your vacation. So, be a yes person, I guess. I don't know. Like, just party and have fun and do things you wouldn't do and try foods you might not normally try and realize that when you get home, you can take naps and stuff.
Yeah, like wake up early, stay up late, try all new things, meet new people. Don't eat at McDonald's in a foreign country.
Yeah, like try to do things that you can't just do at home. And
don't like watch movies. I don't know. Personally, yeah. I feel like that one.
It's so funny because we always kind of joke when things that our parents taught us or like whatever translate into us as adults. But
like how we become our parents.
Yeah. Our mom used to always say that. Like, you can do that at home. And we're like, so what? But now I kind of feel the same way.
Yeah.
So that's like our main rule. Some of our other travel tips are always pack sunscreen, extra sunscreen if you're fair.
Like us. And even if you're not, you should still wear sunscreen.
But really apply it when we go to the beach, which we go to pretty frequently. I typically don't get burned because I'm very meticulous about my sunscreen application, so I pretty much do it hourly at the beach just because the sun is beating down so strong there, the way it's reflecting off the water and the sand, and also the fact that you're either like swimming or sweating. But if I'm not swimming, it's every hour, and as soon as I get in the water, I dry off and I cover myself in my towel until I'm ready to reapply.
Yeah.
And Renee does not listen to me, and that's why she gets burned.
But I also get burnt a lot, but it always looks worse than it feels. So I'm just like, whatever, I'll just be red. It's just who I am at the beach.
So cancer causing, so.
That's true. That's true.
Another tip we have is to always bring a bathing suit. This is something that we like find our friends always forget.
Right.
And then we end up being at a place like maybe we didn't realize the hotel had a hot tub, or maybe we met random people who had a hot tub and they want to bring us back to their hot tub. Like, that has happened to us so many times.
Yes. If you've ever been to San Diego, everyone just invites you to their hot tub. So, like, a lot. Like, that's just a normal greeting. Like, hey, how are you? I'm good. You want to come to my hot tub? Okay. So, yeah, always bring a bathing suit because you never know. And it's always worse to not have it. And how big's a bathing suit? It's not taking up a lot of room in your suitcase, so.
Exactly.
Just bring a little string bikini. That's like no space at all.
Exactly. Some other tips we had were to try to check out new restaurants. So if you're at a place for a few nights, going to different places, even if you really like something, or maybe if you really, really like something, going for like that one thing one more time, but like.
Yeah, try something new and try not to rely on like chains that you have access to at home.
Yeah.
So don't go to like Fridays. Just like go to something local. And I think some of the best, hotel concierges are really good at suggesting places. That's basically their whole job. But just talking to locals too. If you get to know any locals, they can usually like let you in on the really cool spots. So that's probably the best approach.
Exactly. And speaking of locals, just also something to be respectful about, to just research local customs and make sure that you're not being offensive or that you're aware of customs that might be different in American society, so that you're not going to like a foreign country or even like a different part of the country and saying or doing something that's offensive. Or like an example that's not really offensive, but it's just kind of confusing, is if you go to the southern states, so like southeastern United States, they just call soda Coke. So you'll be like, can I have a Coke? And they say, sure, what kind? because they just, or in like some parts of the country they call it pop, but they would know what you mean if you say soda or if they say pop. Most people who call it soda would know. But with the Coke thing, you could be like, oh, I'd like a Coke, and like, what kind? And you're like, Coke.
Yeah, and I don't know that everyone in the South does that, but that's something I've definitely heard.
And I've heard other people mention it, so I think it's definitely a thing that happens in the South.
Yeah, and obviously in like other countries, there could be a culture that clashes with your own, and even just something like wearing, you know, a tank top as a woman in public, like, could be considered like, you know, offensive. And I think it's important to just try to respect those customs when you're there, because you don't want to cause a disturbance, and you also don't want to like get into any trouble depending on what their laws are like there. You never know, so it's better to just do a little research ahead of time and then just try to obey the rules of the land.
Yes. And then there was one more tip we had. If you were taking a road trip and you were going to be crossing into California, they do have border stops that don't allow vegetation in.
Yes. They don't allow any sort of like agricultural stuff through. So fruits and veggies, you have to like toss everything. And if you have a car with a trunk that when you open it, the kind of area around the trunk that is kind of covered when the trunk is closed, but you know what I mean, like those wells, if they're full with dead leaves, then the border agent will probably take a pile of the dead leaves and walk up to your window and say, I just wanted to show you what was in there because you had all of these leaves.
All this leaf matter.
All of this decaying leaf matter. And we're like, lady, we're not trying to infest California with
New Jersey leaves.
Yeah, like rotten leaves. And it also makes you kind of question your lifestyle when you stop at that patrol and they say, oh, is there any fruits or vegetables in your cooler? And you say, no, just candy and alcohol. Which was true. Although I think we did sneak some cherries in.
Not that time.
Oh, another time.
It was literally, it was like Pocky, because we got like a big case of Pocky.
Yeah.
And those like panda.
Yeah, the Hello Pandas.
And then like, alcohol.
Yeah. And fortune cookies. Right?
No.
Oh, we hadn't had those yet either?
So we got those in California.
Oh, right. We did.
We had gotten that other stuff when we went to the Asian Mart in Indiana.
Oh, right.
Right. Someone has... Wow. You have a really bad memory sometimes.
Sometimes. Can't remember minor details. My brain has more important things to worry about.
Like whether or not that's a dress or pajamas.
Whether or not? Okay. It's a dress, guys. If you saw the YouTube video, I'm wearing a dress. It's not pajamas.
You might be like, hi, this is Grandma Nene, and I'm going to read you a story.
Grandmas don't read to you in their nightgowns. That'd be really creepy.
I don't know.
Well, maybe they do. I don't know. I mean, I guess it could be a nightgown. I sleep in my clothes a lot.
Let us know, guys. Do grandmas read to you in their pajamas? It'd be really weird if your grandma read to you in your pajamas.
Yeah. Be like, Grandma, what are you trying to do?
Depending on the age of the child, too.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, Nana, you're too old to dress like that. So,
all right. Anyway,
those are some of our travel tips. If you guys have any travel tips, let us know.
Yeah, share with us.
Post it in the comments.
Yeah.
Send us an email. Or, text us. That's what a lot of our listeners do.
Yeah.
They just text us.
Okay. So anyway, next on the agenda is to talk about...
Do you remember what we're talking about next?
I think we're talking about some of our favorite trips.
Yeah.
So we talked about some of our favorite vacation with Momily in episode 4.
Yes.
But that was our favorite family vacations. So what's your favorite, just any vacation?
They're pretty much the same. I wrote the cruises. I think honestly, I've really enjoyed all of them. I would actually probably say my absolute favorite was the cruise that you and I took together to Bermuda. I think that
really?
Yeah.
I would say my absolute favorite was probably the road trip. Just because that's something you don't get to always do.
Oh, so I wasn't really counting that whole thing as one. I was counting each place we went as one, but I guess obviously it was one trip.
No, that's one vacation.
Then I also said when we went to San Diego the year before we went on the road trip.
Yeah.
We went for 10 days.
That was fun.
I mean, I've had fun on pretty much all of our vacations.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, yeah, it's hard to really narrow it down. So the road trip, Renee and I did a 47-day cross-country road trip where we took Route 70 out to, like, Colorado. And then at some point we got on 80, went to Reno, where Renee had gone to college for a year, so she had friends out there.
Yep.
Then we went to San Francisco, like, past Portland to Seattle, stayed with our brother for, like, 2 weeks. And then we went down to San Diego, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, then Grand Canyon. Then kind of quickly went back through Texas. We stopped in, like, Amarillo, but we didn't really. We literally had driven, like, 13 hours each day surrounding it. We didn't do much.
We watched Breaking Bad.
Oh, and I think we got Outback.
We did.
We actually
there was an
broke
Outback
our rule.
Steakhouse.
Yeah, it was, like, connected to the hotel.
But I mean, in unfairness, that was, like, a 7-week vacation.
Yeah.
So, like, by that point, we were, like, a little burnt out, and we were like, okay, we just want to get some quick food. There's an Outback in this parking lot attached to our hotel, and we just started watching Breaking Bad, and we, like, binged, like, as much as there was up to that point, basically.
Yeah, so then we went to Memphis, up to Louisville, and then Pittsburgh to visit some of our family that lives in Pittsburgh, and then we came home. We went down to our parents' beach house for, like, 2 nights, went to Six Flags, and then, like, we went on a cruise.
Yeah,
so
we got back and went on a cruise.
For two straight months.
Yeah.
And that was
pretty awesome.
Pretty good.
So, what was your favorite stop on the road trip?
I don't know. I liked so many of them. I don't even know.
Okay,
I would say maybe Seattle, because we were there for so long, so we were able to get more of, like feel more like locals, I guess, and experience, like, I don't know. Like, it was, like, more like we got into, like, a routine, and we were there for so long. And it was, like, it's, like, a cool space.
Yeah, and it was really nice when we were in Seattle. It was, like, 80 degrees, like, the whole time.
Yeah,
sunny. Yeah, we didn't get the dreary Seattle. We got the, like, 2 weeks of summer they get a year.
I mean, I loved San Diego because we got to visit our aunt, but, like, that time we went, it was more like a rest because we were so tired. Like, I think we literally just stayed in her house. Like, I know we went out, but I think we just, like, slept a lot. Like, we, like, remember we were, like, sleeping all day one day, and,
tired.
like, she made lobster or something, or whatever. I don't know. We, like, didn't go, because we had gone and visited her the year before for 10 days, and we did a lot of the touristy stuff, so that time we just kind of, like, were pooped. And we just, like,
and it was hard because, I mean, we were very meticulous planners with our road trip. So we met for, like, hours ahead of time on multiple days at Starbucks, and we worked out our road trip binder. What did we call it? It had some name. It was basically, like, a 5-inch 3-ring binder, and it had a page for every single day of, like, where we were going, how long the drive was going to take, who was driving, what our hotel was, whose name it was under, what like places we wanted to check out while we were there, and then what time we were going to leave and go to the next stop. And despite all that planning, we forgot to account for the fact that when you drive across the country, you sometimes drive across time zones. Mm-hmm. So we got a little confused the first time that happened because the time on the GPS, like, wasn't matching up with when we thought we would arrive. So we're like, oh, there's only 20 minutes left. And we're like, no, wait, there's still, like, an hour and 20 minutes left because we forgot.
No, that only happened because of Arizona, because they don't do daylight savings time. So that was the one that was messed up because when we were leaving the Grand Canyon. But normally it was okay. Well, normally it would tell you the time, but then it would say the arrival time, and you'd be like, why is it saying we have 2 hours if we're arriving at this time? And then we'd be like, oh.
Right.
I mean, yeah. We didn't really account for the time zones when we were planning our arrival times, but it wasn't like it messed it up too badly.
No, but it was still, it's kind of silly considering how much planning we did that we didn't think of that. And we, like, got all the, like, AAA travel guides and, like, looked in all kinds of places at different events we wanted to go to. So, what were some of your favorite things we did on the trip? Well, let me say some of my favorite places we went. Our first stop was in Indiana, in Bloomington, and that's where our cousin lives. And
lived.
Yeah, lived. And that is a really
She's
cool
still alive.
city.
She just doesn't live there any longer. Sorry.
So yeah, that city's really cool because it's got like the largest congregation of like
I don't know.
Buddhists.
They have like a Buddhist.
There's like a Buddhist temple, and the Dalai Lama like vacations there.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. So we went to this like temple, and we got to see all these like tapestries that like the monks made and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's really just like a cool kind of vibe. And the city's really pretty, and there's like lots of flowers everywhere. We went to like the University of Indiana.
Is it Indiana University or University of Indiana?
I don't know, whatever. But
the campus is
very
really
pretty.
Nice.
There's like, and then there's like a bunch of artwork and stuff. It's like kind of got like a festival-y type vibe. So that was cool. And that was our first stop. And it was a long drive because to get from New Jersey to Indiana was like
it was like 11 hours. It was like 11 hours. And the thing that's kind of stupid is I did not even like think about stopping in Pittsburgh on the way out. Like we could have.
Yeah.
But we honestly planned it to do like about 10 hours of driving a day. And then there were a couple days where we did a little bit less, a little bit more, and then some like 2 days I think we did like 13 hours.
Right.
So one thing we didn't do was we didn't drive down the Pacific Coast Highway because we drove through like all of California.
Right. We didn't go to like
one day, and we just took I-5.
We didn't go to Yellowstone, or like we didn't go to a lot of like the big national monuments or national parks that I feel like probably would have been cool to check out. So maybe on like a different road trip in the future we would do that. But we went to some random cities, and I also really enjoyed Salt Lake City. I thought it was nice. And then one of the places we had a lot of fun was Louisville, Colorado, not to be confused with Louisville, Kentucky. So in Louisville, it's near Boulder, and we went out there, and my mom had our mom, Momly, had suggested we stay with someone she knew through work. They were both like accountants, so she knew him in a professional type setting, and we had never met him, and his name was Ernie, and we were like, okay, well, let's just like stay there one night because like we don't know these people, and like it's kind of weird that we're just like gonna stay at their house. And so we were like, okay, we'll just like stay there one night, and then we'll stay like another night in Colorado Springs. So when we got to Louisville, he was like so nice, and his family was really nice. It was like him and his wife, and they had 2 like teenage boys, and the boys were like so sweet. They like gave up their bedrooms for us, and they were all like, oh, let me help with your bags, and like then they're like, we need to take you out to dinner. And we're like, well, we should take you out to dinner. Like, you're letting us stay in your house. And they like wouldn't let us pay for dinner. And they were just really nice. And he like, when we first met him, he's like, yeah, he had like hurt his leg. And we're like, oh, well, what happened? He's like, I just kind of like fell off a cliff. And we're like, what? And he's like, I was mountain biking, and I just like sort of like the cliff got really narrow, and I misgauged and I fell off. And I was like, oh, well, how high was it? And he's like, I don't know, like 15 feet. I was like, are you serious? But I mean, in Colorado, at least in that part, there's like a lot of outdoorsy type people. And it's just so beautiful. He says like it rains there like, I think 12 days a year or something. So it was really, really beautiful. It was nice to see different parts of the country. Because growing up in New Jersey on the East Coast, I always thought like, I'm going to want to live in New Jersey forever. But then going to these other places, I was like, oh, I actually might enjoy living in some of these other places. Especially when you're like in Salt Lake City and they're like, oh, my apartment is like 3,000 square feet. I pay $600 a month. I'm like, oh, cool. For $600 a month, you can get like a bedroom in a basement in New Jersey.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cool places we went. And it was kind of like the way we planned the trip was we knew we were going to Seattle, and then we just kind of stopped in places like not half, but I'd say maybe like a third of the time we were staying with people. I mean, I guess half if you count the fact that we were at Joe's place for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And a lot of the places when we were staying with people, we'd stay for like 3 nights or something because we're like, oh, it's free and we want to visit with these people. But like we kind of planned it based on those locations and then just kind of picked other places in between.
Right.
So yeah, like Renee was saying, we didn't really plan on going to a lot of like typical things that people who go on cross-country road trips see because we were more like, we know we're going to these cities and we'll just plan. It was more like a city tour and less of a like see the country.
Yeah. It was kind of like we're driving to Seattle to see our brother. Let's make some stops on the way.
Yeah, so it was fun.
And I think like my favorite memory of the road trip is probably Prairie Dog Town. So, do you want to describe Prairie Dog Town for us, Jess?
So, okay, we're driving through Kansas, and prairie dog town. We keep seeing signs for this prairie dog town that they boast of having the largest prairie dog in the world.
And, like 100 feet or something.
Yeah. And so we keep like seeing it. And Renee's like, do you want to go? And I was like, okay, it's like the next stop. So we pull over and it's this.
No, Verge just goes, I wonder how the prairie dog got that big.
No, I said.
And I'm like,
I wonder how they how they are doing it. Like, obviously it's some kind of like gimmick, but I'm like, I wonder what they do to have this thing. And Renee is just like, it's probably a statue. And I was like, oh, right.
It was a big prairie dog statue.
So we get there and it's this side of the interstate
animal freak show
petting zoo thing that's like,
yeah. So basically you go through this creepy gift shop.
They give you like dog biscuits and they're like, you can feed the prairie dogs, but they basically said like they're not going to come to you, but if you drop it, they'll come out of their holes and like get it. And then there were like little piglets that you could like play with and stuff and pet through the fence. But then they had like these freak show animals, like a cow with like
a lot of cows with like vestigial limbs, like hanging off the
their
sides.
Backs. They had like 2 like coyotes or wolves or something.
And they had a donkey that tried to bite us.
And then the prairie dogs were kind of cute. So, and it's dusty. There was like no grass. It was just like dust.
Yeah.
And then like dry, dusty dirt. And then the siding was like metal sheeting.
Yeah, like fluted metal sheets.
So then we're just like, oh, it's kind of creepy, whatever. And then when we're about to leave, we notice like no one is out there anymore. It's just the 2 of us.
Yeah, there had been like maybe 3 other couples.
Or like, I guess they were just props. Like all the other people left and we were like, what the heck is going on? Like we're the only people out here. We're like, okay, let's go now. Like kind of creepy. And then we go and the door is locked.
Yeah, the exit is marked exit and we go to open it and it's not opening. And we're like, oh my God. Like, are we going to be one of their freak show animals? Like, and we forgot to mention those. When you first walk in to the place, it's like a taxidermied kind of gift shop with all these like animals and like creepy things, like, and little things in jars.
But the lady that worked there was really nice.
She was very friendly. So then we're like, okay, the door's not opening. Like, let's just go back in through the gift shop. And we go, and friendly lady has disappeared. And it is like literally the trope of creepy man in murder movie slasher flick.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, the door, like, it wasn't working. And he's like, you just have to go through there. And we're like, oh my God. It's like gnarled hands.
He was like, he said that we would want to wash our hands.
Oh, yeah. He's like, you're going to want to wash your hands. So we, like, go into the bathroom and we're like,
is this another trap?
No, we were like, oh my God, I can't believe we thought we were going to get murdered. And then we're like, wait, maybe he's lulling us into a false sense of security and he's going to come into the bathroom and kill us. But we didn't die. We did get out. And
it was fine.
It was interesting. So if you're ever driving through Kansas and see signs for Prairie Dog Town, I want to check it out. It's an interesting kind of place.
Yeah. It was interesting.
And that was one of our unplanned excursions.
Yes.
That was pretty fun. Another thing to do when you see something on vacation and you think, oh, should we try that out? Just go for it, because when are you going to get the opportunity again?
That's true. And I feel like it's better to regret having done something than to regret not having done something.
Yes, it's usually the case.
Yeah, so that's good. I mean, I think my least favorite stop on our trip was probably LA. I mean...
You aren't really into LA?
No. I'm not into big cities in general, but also... The main thing I dislike about it is that there's, like, no public transportation. You have to drive everywhere.
Traffic is terrible.
And because you have to drive everywhere, like, the traffic is so bad.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so...
And it's expensive.
Yeah, it's expensive. I mean, we stayed in Santa Monica, and we were, like, I want to say, like, 2.5 miles from, like, the Santa Monica Pier.
Yeah.
And so, like, we went there a few times, and, like, that was fine. But, like, ultimately... It was just so trafficky. And
but probably the most expensive place we went was San Francisco. Because remember how tiny our hotel room was?
Yeah.
It was like the most expensive hotel room of all of the rooms on our trip. And we stayed budget. Like we stayed at like
Well, no. The most expensive were when we went to Vegas and Grand Canyon. But our mom met us there. So Molly covered those.
Yes.
So we were like, oh, Molly, we'll just... We'll cover these
like,
rooms.
Mom, we've been on vacation for 5 weeks already. We need a little something to get us through. And she's like, I don't feel sympathy for you. But no, and it was so tiny. It was like a little closet. It was so uncomfortable.
But it had a chair. We brought a friend back, and he was like, wow, this hotel room is really nice, really spacious.
Yeah, we were like, are you kidding?
Wow.
It was like, this thing is so small. But whatever.
But the parking wasn't that. I mean, you had to pay for the parking, but that was like parking in San Francisco is really hard. So that was like nice.
And San Francisco is a confusing city in regards to the topography, because we went to this restaurant and I think we walked up probably like 17 hills to get there. And then one of the hills was so steep that there was actually just stairs built into it because you couldn't even climb the hill. But then somehow when we walked back from the restaurant, it was all level ground.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why didn't we go this way? It was like 2 blocks over from the way we walked, and we walked up all of these hills, and it was ridiculous. And then didn't we see like a lady walking in the high heels on the hills? And I'm like, I do not know how she's managing that. Crazy. And they like walk backwards down the hills in high heels because it's supposedly easier.
Well, yeah, because it's like more even, I guess. I mean, it's pretty
nuts.
Intense.
It's really,
we
really
had never.
hilly.
I don't bike, so I didn't know that like bike maps apparently show you that sort of thing. Because then our brother told us that. He's like, why didn't you just get a bike map? We're like, oh, I don't know, because I didn't know that was
like who uses maps. This was like in the 2000s.
I used maps.
2012. So, well, aren't you cool? So analog. So
remember,
hipster.
I read them wrong because like that one time I got us lost.
Yeah.
Usually I know where we're going, and Renee is, like, always extremely confused about which way things are. She has, like, no sense of direction. Like, if I were to say to her right now, in which direction is my house from this exact location, like, just point.
I'm not going to point because I don't feel like the need to justify myself to you.
You don't even know. Just guess. Think about it. Tell me later.
Oh, just put your pen
I guarantee
down.
you'll be wrong.
Well, Middlesex is confusing because a lot of the things look the same and, like, they have similar intersections.
Okay. Anyway, but then there was one time in Salt Lake City where she was like, no, it's this way. I was like, it's this way. And
I knew exactly where,
right.
So.
You did it at one time. So, yeah. We have some other good stories. Like, when we're out in Vegas that time, I almost got kicked out of the club in Vegas. So,
which I didn't even know was possible. Like, it's Las Vegas. They know people get crazy.
In our hotel, there was, like, a happy hour thing at one of the bars, and it was actually a really good deal. Whatever. Like, really, I think it was, like, free drinks for ladies or something.
Yeah, it was, like, free drinks for an hour
and they were
or
strong.
2 hours.
So we, like, went there, and we were, like, really good, really buzzed. And then we went to the club. It was One Oak.
Yeah, one of a kind.
It's not like Jay-Z's or something. I don't know. Someone like
someone's
or something.
Club.
But anyway, we were at the Mirage, and that's where it was. So we went in, and Renee had been taking these, like, striptease aerobics classes.
Mm-hmm.
So she kind of had, like, some skills on the pole, and she wanted to use it. But the poles were only in
VIP.
the, like, private, like, table service areas. So she met someone, and she asked him, like, oh, can I come into your area? Like, I want to dance on the pole. And he's like, yeah, go ahead, guys, come on in. So we're, like, in there, and we're chatting, and I'm chatting with, like, the bachelor. It was, like, a bachelor party. And then by where the pole is, there's, like, a little space where you can dance. But I want to say it's, like, a foot wide. Like,
it's probably like a foot and a half at least.
It was not wide.
It's a narrow ledge for dancing.
So he's like, come up here and dance with me. And I said, all right.
It's basically like in between the backs of the 2 booths is like a ledge you can dance on.
So I go up there to dance with him, and I fall into another private party because it was, like, onto their couch. And I'm sure on top of people. So they're, like, trying to kick me out or whatever. The bouncer brings me outside, and he's looking at my ID and talking to me, and I was just like, I don't know where my sister is, and, like, I can't find my room key, and blah, 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 and, like, just, like, blabbering.
Coyotes fighting outside or something.
And then, he's like, his manager was like, we're just gonna let her back in, and the guy was like, you're letting her back in? And I was like, yeah.
And when we first got there, somehow we, like, went down at different times. So I went down to the club, and first, like,
Joe's friends
and I didn't know where the entrance was. So I couldn't figure out where the line was. And I saw this group of girls who were walking in, so I was like, oh, I'll just follow them. But I guess they were, like, VIP or something. And then, like, they were such little jerks because I'm, like, just following them because I literally just thought they were going to the entrance. And then they're, like, they walk up and they're like, we're just 5. And they kept, like, drawing their arms as if, like, blocking out. They're like, she's not with us. We're just 5. And I was like, and the guy's like, you can just come. And I was like, thanks. Like, I wasn't trying to, like, sneak. I just didn't know. And then Jess is, like, calling me, and she's like, where are you? And I was like, I'm next to the dancing panda, because they were just, like, furries and they're dancing. And she's like, what? And I was like, I'm right here by the dancing panda. And she's like, I'm next to the dancing panda. And I'm like, that's not possible. You must be next to the dancing gorilla. And she's like, you're right, it is a gorilla. And I'm like, I know, come to the panda. And I was like, this is the weirdest conversation. But we eventually found each other, which was good.
Yeah, because I think what happened was some of our brother's friends that we had met up with in Seattle, they were in Vegas. And then they didn't have shoes. Oh, no. I was wearing sandals, and they were like, you have to wear closed-toed shoes or, like, heels. Like, you could wear peep-toe heels, but you couldn't wear, like, sandals. Like, I just, like, reason. Whatever. Like, they were fine, but I guess they're like, it's a hazard because people could step on your feet. I'm like, okay. So, like, you can wear flats. I'm like, fine. So, I, like, go up and change my shoes. And I think the girl also wanted to, like, borrow shoes or borrow a shirt or something.
Yeah, so she changed, too.
And then they ended up leaving because it wasn't really their scene. But after I went back in, we went back to the private party area, and then the guy was like, come dance with me. And I was like, sounds like a good idea. Again. And as soon as I was up there, I just fell again. But this time into public, they didn't care as much. They kind of tried to get me, and I was like, oh, they're going to try to kick me out. And I just, like, walked away from the guy.
She's like, I own this place.
Got back in, then, I don't know, some girl was like, nobody wants you guys here. So then I told Renee we had to leave, and then she got mad at me, and then we left, and then you lost your $100.
Yes, I lost $100, and everyone's like, that's not that much. I'm like, I wasn't gambling, I just dropped it on the floor somewhere. Like,
and they're like, oh, that sucks.
I'm like, it's more frustrating. And then we like told the security guards, and they just like laughed.
No, he was like, well, no one turned it in. You were like, well, can I just go back and check where I was? And they're like, go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I was asking them. Yeah. I was like, I lost $100 in there. And they're like, well, nobody gave it to us. I'm like, okay, can I just go look for it? Is actually what I'm asking. But also, I'm like, there's a lot of cameras in casinos. So, like, not like it's that, like, $100 isn't the most money in the world. But, you know, when you're on a 7-week vacation, that's a lot of money.
Renee was, like, really mad at me for making us leave. And she was, like, screaming at me and, like, hitting me while we were walking through the casino. Like, we were probably screaming at each other, like, the top of our lungs, like, walking through the casino.
We were young.
It's late, but it wasn't so... It was still, like, crowded because it was, like, not that late. And then we're, like, in the elevator, and... Actually, I think this was a different time we were in... There was another time, actually, that we were in the elevator screaming at each other. This was in Atlantic City. And we were, like, screaming at each other in the elevator, and other people were in the elevator. And Renee's like...
Well, you were, like, yelling at me at this point, and I was just
you were yelling to them, but then you're like, stop. You're just, like, embarrassing yourself. And
then she stopped.
And then I stopped, and then, like, the people in the elevator were like...
We're like, oh, I wonder what these doors are made out of. We're like, most awkward elevator ride ever.
They like got out, whatever floor it was. They just, if we didn't get out, they just like left. They're like, we're getting out of here.
Yeah, they're like crazy people in the elevator. But yeah, that was pretty awkward.
Awkward. Oh yeah, because the reason we stopped fighting is because you realized you lost the $100, and then it was like, find the money.
The crisis mode.
Oh yeah, so then what happened was when we were going back to our rooms after you couldn't find the $100, we bumped into another set of guys, another bachelor party. And they were on the same floor as us. And they started walking...
They had a suite.
Well, I thought they were walking into a closet.
Like a conference room.
And I was like, where are you going? I'm like, this is our room. And it was like...
Huge.
Hangover style, like, multiple bedroom suite.
Yeah,
and we were like,
really
damn.
nice.
So then we, like, went in there with them. We're hanging out. And they're like, yeah, we're going to go back downstairs. And I was like, why? Like, let's just party. We're, like, having fun. I didn't really see the appeal of going downstairs. Like, I didn't...
She forgot there was a casino downstairs. She's like, why do you want to go downstairs?
And then
it's like a hotel lobby. That's boring. Yeah, so she's like,
I'm like, we're partying. It's fun. And then they just like point at Renee, and she's like literally passed out on the couch. And I was like, okay, good point.
You're like, all right. And she brought me home.
That was fun.
Yeah, so that was a good trip. Pretty fun. And there's a lot of drinking on that road trip. I think one of my other favorite stops was Memphis. We had like such a fun time in Memphis because we met this guy, and his job was that he was like a tour guide. So we're like, oh my God, you can give us the tour. And first we're at this bar where we met him. And then this other guy like was talking to us because we always would set of our OK Cupid or Plenty of Fish to whatever city we were visiting because we were like, oh, we can meet guys. And,
Isn't that how you met the John guy?
Yeah, that's how we met him. And then like, when we're at this bar, this other guy comes up to me and he's like, oh, I think I like saw you on Plenty of Fish. And I was like, oh yeah. He's like, I feel like I'm talking to a celebrity. Like, oh, this is so exciting. And I was like, okay, you're really weird. So then the guy, John, it was like, oh, I know of this like cool bar and it's like a speakeasy. So there's a password to get in each night and it's just like someone's name. So you have to be like, oh, Bill sent me or whatever. And then you get in with no cover. So he took us to this place and, it was really cool. It was a very fun bar, and we were like talking to the owner of the bar, and we had a travel journal that we have everyone sign, like sort of like a yearbook messages they write us, and he put the card for the bar in there, and he wrote like next drinks on me. And then the guy, John, was like, okay, I'm going to take you to this other bar. And we're like, okay. He's like, I'm going to take you to Rafers. And we're like, Rafus? We're going to take you to Rafus? And he's like, yeah, Rafus. And I'm like, that's a bar called Rafus? Like, what do you... But it was really called Rayfords. But that was a fun bar, too. It had, like clear floors that, like, lit up.
And a pole.
And then
that you would not get off.
Wow.
She was on the pole so much. And I was like... And she would do this thing where she would, like, climb the pole. And so you kind of, like... I guess you're, like, inching up it using, like, your shins. And then you'd slide down it. But she was on it so much, and I was like, oh, maybe, like, give the pole a little break. Because, like, other people wanted to use it, and they were just kind of,
really
like, giving her nasty looks.
They were really bad.
And she's like, what? You have a problem with poles?
Just as I spit a lot when I'm drunk.
She does a lot of, like, intense pees. And then, like,
I do a lot of intense pees. I speak with intense pronunciation of my peas.
You probably do intense peas as well, because I mean,
probably. But yeah.
But anyway, so she's like, "You got a problem with poles?" And I'm like, "No," but like other people want to turn. And then the next day, both of her shins were like purple, like because the bruise.
We described them as tenderized meat.
Yeah,
they were just
so
it was like the whole thing was just like so beat up.
Yeah.
So yeah. Like, oh, new travel tip: stripper poles only in moderation.
Yeah, that one was great.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right, so
can we talk for a second about vacations we took as kids?
Yeah.
So, Momily is a great mom. Not so great as a child vacation planner. We didn't go on a ton of like elaborate vacations when we were kids because we just didn't really have the money. But we went to Washington, D.C. when we were like, I think I was probably like 7 or 8.
We went a couple of times. Like, for the first time, yeah, you were probably that
when
age.
We visited Bill.
Yeah, because I think I was like around 10.
Yeah, and basically, Momilly's idea of a sweet vacation activity is to visit every single museum that a city has, whether or not you care about the topic that is covered in the museum. So I think, Washington, D.C. has a lot of museums, and I think we went to about 7 in one day, and we were so tired, and then we were at the Museum of Natural History, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we were just so exhausted. We sat in this little room where they played a tape about the origin of life on Earth, and it was like a little theater thing, so it had like, there was like benches that were basically wooden benches that had like felt over them, so they weren't the most comfortable. And we're all just like laying there so exhausted while Mom's like looking at some gems or something. And the video was about the origins of life, which starts with like the basic building blocks of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. And then they link up to form amino acids, and they're like do-do-do-do-do-do-do. And it was like we literally watched that video on loop. It was probably like a 5-minute video. We watched it like 20 times. So then all vacation we were like, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, chon, 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 chon. And so shout out to Momily. This is a very educational trip for us. We still remember the basic building blocks of life from that one video.
Yeah,
but
that's funny. But we've both gone back to Washington, D.C. as adults with Momily.
Yes.
Through work, basically.
And we did go to many museums as well. I appreciate them more now.
The cool thing about it is, like, the Smithsonian museums are all free.
Yes.
So it's like...
But it's sad because when the government is shut down, they close down.
Yeah.
Which is sad.
And even the zoo, like... But you have to pay for a map. Because it's like...
Yeah, $5 donation.
Yeah, the zoo is free, but you have to pay if you want to get a map. But I mean, there's signs and stuff. And then people, like, will run through the zoo. So basically just, like, a public park you can, like, run through. And I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah, till like a cheetah starts chasing you. It's like, thinks you're prey.
Yeah. Well, okay, you don't run through the exhibits.
Well, I guess if you really wanted a thrill, you could. Travel tip number 14, don't jump into zoo exhibits. Rest in peace, Harambe.
No, wasn't there a recent one? And she was like, they should have better barriers because she like jumped over.
For the jaguar or something?
Yeah, or she was like sitting on the edge. Like, don't even sit on the edge, guys. Just stand on the other side.
And usually they have like a fence in front of the wall. Like, you have to stay behind. So even to sit on the edge probably took work. It
depends, though, because... Yeah, I don't know.
No, she like wanted to get a selfie with a jaguar or something.
Yeah, so stupid.
So dumb. That's why they have Photoshop.
So speaking of zoos, a few years ago we went out to Seattle, and it was like a fun family vacation. It was our mom and our stepdad, our stepbrother, Renee, her husband, and then our grandma was there, and our one uncle. Was he there at the aquarium? Yeah, I guess he was.
I think so.
He wasn't there for that part, though, because my mom was driving him he was going down to Portland, so she was dropping off at the train. They might want to know why he wasn't there.
Okay. Not important. Okay, so anyway, we're at the aquarium, which is not a zoo, but close enough.
And it's a place where they have animals in captivity. So we see some river otters. And, river otters are very cute and playful, so we're, like, watching them for a while because we really like them. And they're being cute and they're doing stuff. And then we're kind of, like, about to leave, and then we see this thing happen.
It was traumatic.
Male river otters, and one was on top of the other one, pinning him down and, like, trying to rape him. Like, he was, like, ferociously humping him. Mm-hmm. And it didn't look like he was penetrating. Like, we saw his
otter penis.
His penis come out, but it was just, like, not going anywhere. It was just, like, humping the back of the other one.
Well, otter fur is very thick.
That's true.
And the little guy who was pinned down, I mean, you couldn't really hear, but he was screaming. You could see his, like, little mouth open. Yeah, veins bulging from his neck as he was screaming for help.
And, like, writhing.
And then this ferocious other otter on top just assaulting him.
It
was pretty traumatic.
But also, like, funny.
I mean, they're otters. They're animals. They can't really be held as accountable, I guess, for understanding things like consent.
It's probably because they're, like, in captivity or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. Makes them extra horny.
Or, like, frustrated. But then, I don't know, because we read an article about sea otters and saying that they sometimes will rape baby seals to death. And it was saying that the way that sea otters, their copulating, like, strategy is basically very aggressive anyway. I mean, we actually once saw, like, a squirrel getting raped at the Turtleback Zoo. Do you remember that? And I was like, I mean, is any animal sex really consensual? Like, probably not. I mean, probably most of it is not.
Yeah.
They don't think in the same way that humans do. Like, They don't have those kinds of, like, cognitive thought processes and, like, decision-making skills. So a lot of it is, like, instinctual. But anyway, so the way that sea otters do it is the male will kind of come behind the female, bite its neck, and then they have this very long, like, can be a couple of hours where they're, like, in the water rolling around. So basically what would happen is, what scientists thought was happening is that the sea otters were mistaking the baby seals for females, but then the seals couldn't hold their breath long enough, so they would drown. But then the sea otters would keep raping them, and then sometimes they said that they would, like, keep the seals for, like, a week and just keep raping its dead body.
So whenever you see memes of, like, sea otters being like, they hold hands so they don't drift apart, it's like, yeah, they also hold hands with the seals they raped to death. But sea otters are really cute, and if you ever go to the Seattle Aquarium, and I think I could literally watch the sea otters for, like, 5 hours straight. They're so cute.
So we saw the river otters, and then we went over to the sea otters, and there was, like, a baby one.
Yes, and they, like, because they have, like, the oil glands, so they, like, rub their oil glands, and they, like, rub their cheeks, and they smush them up, and they look so cute, and they, like, look like they're shampooing their hair, and they're just so adorable, and they do, like, flips in the water. They're really, really cute. So we can forgive them for their transgressions, because they don't know any better.
Yeah. Another funny animal story is that we were in the Grand Canyon, and our aunt was with us, and she's taking pictures of the view of the Grand Canyon, and Renee says, "Oh, there's a squirrel on your backpack." She's just like, doesn't respond, and we're like, "There's a squirrel on here." Oh my god, it's going in your backpack. And she's like, "Oh."
She was wearing her backpack.
No, she wasn't wearing it. It was on the ground, but she, like, thought that we were doing a major look.
And I was like, why would you think that? We're adults. We're like, no, there's literally a
She's
squirrel.
like, oh yeah, I have like little kids, so I always just think you're like, Major Luck. And we're like, no, there's like a literal squirrel.
Yeah, so the squirrels of the Grand Canyon, they actually make a lot of references to them about, like, don't feed the squirrels. They're like, they're very aggressive because they've been fed by humans. And so then later, when we were waiting for the bus to leave the Grand Canyon, we were, like, at this bench, and this lady who had, like, a broken leg was sitting down on the bench, and this squirrel came right up to her, and then it was crawling all over her. And, like, trying to get her sandwich, or I don't even know, but it was, like, crawled up her leg, crawled, like, up her chest. I was like, oh, my God, I'd be freaking out
She
right
liked
now.
it at first, but then, because I think she was feeding it, actually.
Oh, maybe she
And
was.
then she was like, never mind, I regret this. But then I was eating chips, and the squirrel was coming at me, and I was, like, threw my chip, and then Renee's like, you just reinforced its behavior. And I was like, I'm sorry.
She, like, threw it in fear. She's like, get away from me, and I'll pelt you with a potato chip. And he's like, just what I wanted.
He's like, perfect, it worked.
But Jess loves squirrels, so it's all good.
Our mom used to have a pet squirrel that, like, lived outside of her house. It wasn't really a pet. It was just, like, a frequent visitor. And she said that his name was Squirrely because he loved to sit on the windowsill.
And eat nuts.
So we said that his name should be Windowsilly. But then one day...
Yeah, one day my uncle was over for dinner, and he saw Squirrely get murdered by a fox and carried off. And my mom doesn't live in, like, the woods. She lives in a very suburban neighborhood, so it was, like, a lot to see. But, yeah, unfortunately, Squirrely was murdered by a fox. Windowsilly was taken off and devoured, most likely.
Yeah.
Pretty sad.
It's pretty sad. Pretty traumatic.
All right, so any other trip stories? I feel like there's so many trip stories that we haven't talked about.
I mean, there's so many good ones. Like, so one funny one that happened was we were in Portland, and we were in line to get voodoo donuts.
Yeah, so we basically were walking in town, and we saw people had these pink boxes, and we're like, what are those? And we're like, oh, it's like a donut shop. So we're like, oh, let's go check it out. And we go, and the line is, like, around the block. Very, very long line. And then a few funny type things happened here. So we're, like, chatting with some of the people in line. We're in Portland, reminder. And the people behind us were like, oh, where are you from? And they're like, oh, we're from Vancouver. And I was like, oh, welcome to America. And they just, like, looked at me and just, like, I think they mean Vancouver, Washington. And I was like, oh. I was like, I didn't know Vancouver, Washington was a place, which in retrospect is embarrassing. But at the same time, the only reason Jessica knew Vancouver, Washington was a place is because she read 50 Shades of Grey, which is set in Vancouver, Washington. So it's actually more embarrassing for her. But anyway, so that was awkward. So then the people who were in line behind us for, like, half an hour just thought I was a total idiot. And I had to agree.
Because it's literally, like, because Portland's, like, right on the border of Washington, and Vancouver is, like, literally...
Okay, well, I didn't know that. I had never been there, okay?
Awkward. So then I was really thirsty, and I was like, I need a drink. So, whatever. Not an alcoholic drink, but a drink. And there was a food truck across the street, so I was like, I'm just going to go get a drink. So I go over there, and I'm, like, chatting with the guy, saying how... we're on this trip and we're going, like, getting the donuts, and he said, oh, I got some this morning, did you want one? Like,
so I'm standing in line. I'm standing in line across the street. We've been in this line already like 25 minutes, and then I just see Jess, like, I see the pink box come out, and I see her, like, grab one, and I'm like, did you literally just get a voodoo donut? And we've been waiting over here to get them for 25 minutes. And she's like, yeah, she brought it back. It was like M&M's. Right? Yeah,
he didn't have the best. He had just, like, a lot of the cake type ones with, like, this one I think had, like, icing and M&M's on it or something.
Yeah, so it was fine. So then we got in, and they had, like, a lot of donut types. And we liked the maple bacon bar. That was really good. So it'd probably be worth it to check it out. I mean, we went long lines.
So we went to Portland a few years ago when we saw the otter rape. My mom and grandma and my stepdad and I went down to Portland as well. And our aunt and uncle met us, and our other uncle was down there. But we did go to Voodoo Donuts again, and then they had one that was, like, it's like a voodoo doll, and there's jelly inside. So that one was pretty... My aunt had that. She said it was good, and it was kind of funny because it's, like, blood inside.
Yeah, that's creepy.
So, but they have lots of good ones.
Yeah, they switch it up. Yeah.
That was probably going to go back when we visit our brother. Like, maybe... I think that's what our plan is. To go for his wedding in August of 2020 to Seattle, and then also hit Portland with some of our friends, because that'd be fun.
Our favorite place to eat in Seattle is Salty's. at
Brunch,
Alki
Sunday
Beach.
brunch.
It's amazing. It's like the best brunch ever, and we dream about it before we go.
So good.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
It's like amazing. But another really good buffet place that we went to was the Bacchanal Buffet in Vegas.
Oh, that's an amazing buffet.
So our dad had told us to go to the one at Bellagio, which it was fine. It was okay.
Yeah,
but
it wasn't great.
when we went, I think Bacchanal had just opened.
Yes.
And it was literally like the most amazing buffet. Like the food was actually really good.
So we went during lunch, so it was not even that expensive. It was like $25 a person or something. And it's obviously all you can eat buffet. And we're like laughing because when we get to the front of the line, which was short because it was lunch, they're like, please limit your dining experience to 2.5 hours. And I'm like, 2.5 hours? Who eats for that long? We were probably there for like 3 hours. There was so much
Yeah, there
food.
were like four couples
so much.
that came next to us and like came and left.
Yeah,
and
the
we were
seat
like,
next to us, like they came and left 4 times over. So like they had like literally all the food. They had like fried chicken and waffles like in a cute little mini fryer basket, and then they had like a bunch of fresh squeezed juices like orange juice, watermelon juice, all kinds of stuff.
horchata.
They had this dessert that was like a little tiny. It looked like a waffle cone, but it was made out of chocolate, and it was just filled with chocolate buttercream icing and chocolate sprinkles. And I was like, what is this? This is so good.
They had really good cheese. It was really
It was
good.
amazing. So definitely check it out.
So tasty. Okay.
It's a
So
great buffet.
delicious. So now we're going to talk about, we wrote down before we started our top 10 bucket list vacations. So now we'll do like a countdown.
Okay, so we'll start with 10.
Okay.
And we'll trade off, but then if any of yours, like if anyone I say is yours for a higher one, you could just say it.
Okay, fine.
All right, so what's your 10?
Thailand.
My number 10 is, well, I have to preface this by saying, like, we're imagining all of these places are safe and not, like, in civil conflicts. Mine's Egypt.
Okay, I was going to write that, but I didn't because I was not thinking in that way.
Right, so that's how I was thinking, because I think it'd be really cool
it'd
to
be
visit
cool to see it.
Egypt. All right, 9.
Costa Rica.
I put Iceland for 9.
I put that for 7.
Oh, okay. So what do you want to see in Iceland?
I don't know, it just looks so beautiful. I want to see it.
As a geologist, it's like really cool to me because you can actually go like and be right in between 2 tectonic plates, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
Because it's a divergent plate boundary, which is cool.
Definitely want to do that.
Too bad we can't do WOW Airlines. Did you hear they like went bankrupt and people were waiting for their flights, and then the company was like, "Never mind, we're not a company anymore," and then they all got stranded, and then they had to get rescued.
Wow.
Yes, seriously.
That's crazy.
I didn't put Costa Rica on mine, but I did put the Amazon rainforest.
Mm.
But that was for number 5.
Nice.
All right, what'd you put for 8?
The rest of Europe.
That seems a bit vague. You want to go all to every European country?
I mean, I would like to. I don't know.
Do you want to go to Russia?
The rest of Western Europe.
Okay. My number 8 is Madagascar.
Interesting.
There's a lot of animals and plants in Madagascar that are not found anywhere else on Earth, so I think that'd be really cool.
Lemurs.
Yeah, lemur life. Okay, how about 7? Oh, that was Iceland for you?
Yeah.
Mine was India.
I don't have that.
I think it'd be so pretty to go to, especially if we went like during a time of celebration.
Yeah.
It'd be really cool.
For number 6, I wrote Alaska.
Oh, I didn't actually put Alaska, but that would probably be a good one. I put a photo safari in South Africa.
I put South Africa for number 3.
Oh, nice, nice.
And
I
real
specified.
safari.
Oh.
No, just kidding.
Yeah, please. You don't want to be like Cecil murderer or whatever that line's
I want to
name
kill
was.
Cecil and Harambe.
I want to resurrect Harambe just so I can kill him again. All right,
Joking,
number 5 I told you was my Amazon rainforest.
I put Antarctica.
Antarctica? You want to go on vacation to Antarctica?
First of all, travel
First of all,
destinations.
Jessica hates penguins. So why do you even want to go to Antarctica?
It would be cool. I don't know.
Literally.
I might find the thing.
Yeah.
I might go outside in my t-shirt in winter, when it's light out.
Please. Okay, how about 4?
Spain.
I put Japan.
Mm.
Japan looks so funny.
Interesting.
They have so many weird objects and inventions, and there's a lot of cats and like bunnies and things. Definitely want to check it out at some point.
Bunnies.
All kinds of critters. 3?
I put South Africa.
Oh, right. I put Italy.
That's my number 1.
Okay.
2
What was
is
your 2?
Australia.
Mine too.
Yeah.
Same Z's.
So what'd you put for 1?
Fiji.
Oh.
This looks so beautiful. One day I want to go there and go in one of those little huts above the water. But I really honestly would like to visit every country in the world if I could.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Like, if you knew you would be safe, you know. Because I would even like to go to, like, Middle Eastern countries.
Yeah.
I think it'd be pretty interesting to just see every place, but...
If anyone's listening and they want to sponsor a couple of cool sisters to travel around the world, we're here.
Yeah.
Hit us up.
Yeah. We can do a live podcast from various different countries.
Yeah, we could write songs about it.
Yeah, basically. It'd be awesome. Yeah.
So, what international travel have you done so far?
Not much. I've been to... Well, do you count, like, cruise ports?
Yes.
Okay. So, we've been to, like, Bermuda, Bahamas.
Come on, baby, wanna...
We've been to Mexico, Jamaica. Where else have we been?
St. Martin, Grand Cayman. Those are all on cruises.
Yeah. We've been to Canada. And then we've been to... I've been to London, to England.
Yep. I've never been across the pond.
We've been to Hawaii, but it's obviously in the United States. It's not international travel, but still pretty far trip.
Yeah. So that's mostly the
not
same that I've done.
Yeah, you really haven't done much international travel.
I've only been, like, Mexico, Canada, but I've actually traveled to Mexico. Like, I went to Tijuana. Ooh. Like, when I was younger and I went to San Diego, I went down to Tijuana. So, and then just, like, traveling the Caribbean on cruises is pretty much what we've done.
Yeah. One day we'll get over to Europe.
Yeah, I plan on doing it in, like, 10 years or something, like a summer trip, like, for a summer, going over there.
Right. Well, you know, I dated someone from England.
You did?
And he would always, like, talk about how Americans are, like, so uncultured and how we don't, like, do any international travel. And I was like, okay,
wait, this is one of your pet peeves.
Yeah, but I'm like, in all fairness, our country is really, really big. And there's only 2 countries that touch our country. Like, and from New Jersey, you have to travel pretty far to get to either of them. Whereas if you live in England or Europe, especially Western Europe, there's a lot of countries very close by. And usually there's not, like, any type of border crossings. It's all, like, very fluid. Now with Brexit, who knows? But, like, you know, you can just go to all of them. And you don't have to worry about, like, currency exchanges or visas or, you know, border stops. And you can take a train. So I'm like... Until you've, like, been to as many places as I've been in the United States, it's not really fair to judge that I haven't been international. Because even, like, regions of the United States are so different.
True.
That is almost like being in different countries sometimes. So, and it's just a lot more expensive to fly than to just take a train or a ferry or a bus or backpack.
Well, that's true. Well, since you brought it up, we can bring up some of our other pet peeves. Like, one that I don't know if it's really a pet peeve, it's just more something I find to be really strange, is when people go on the same vacation every single year. Like, people who go to Disney World every single year, and that's, like, the only vacation they take. And I'm just thinking...
First of all, I don't even know how you can afford Disney World every single year. Disney is expensive. And then they always have all those pins. Those pins are expensive. They're, like... $15 for a pin. A lot of them are. They're very expensive.
Because I bought a few of them when I was down there. Because I
Miss Moneybags. No, but they are expensive.
Yeah.
And, like, Disney does update and stuff, but I just feel like you could be going to a lot of interesting places. And I feel like you don't have to go every year to Disney World. You could go every 5 years.
Yeah.
You
like,
know?
Some people have been to Disney. Some people have never been to Disney. And we've both been to Disney 3 times. And our mom has now been 4 times because she went, like, I didn't go. You didn't go a couple years ago when we went. Mm-hmm. I didn't go this time when you guys went. But Mom only went both times. But I liked it because we went when I was 8, 18, and 28. And I thought it was really great to go every 10 years. Mm-hmm. Because you got to see how they changed stuff. The rides were different. But it was like... you were like, ooh, noticing like the little nuanced differences, and it just made it like nice.
Right.
I don't see the point of going every year. I mean, it's amazing. I probably would go every year if I could afford it, but not if it was the only vacation I was doing, because I want to go on other vacations and experience other things.
Right, exactly.
So I think that's the thing that's weird. It's one thing to do the same thing over and over again, but not if it's the only thing you do, because you're missing out on like so many other things that you might really, really like.
Right, exactly. That's how I feel too.
Our mom has like a rental property in Seaside Heights, so we do go to the beach a lot, but that's like we don't even call it vacation. That's just,
it's not really vacation.
Something we weekend, but obviously it's very bougie sounding.
Yeah, until you see the house and you're like, oh, this is very small.
But still, I mean, people who don't have it, they're like, well, I don't have
a beach
anywhere
house
to stay when I go down the beach, and I can't just like go down the beach and have a place to stay. And
yeah,
like, that's true.
It's very nice.
It's very nice.
Very lucky. So. And Seaside's a great beach, so.
Yeah.
We'll talk about Seaside more on another episode.
And then just, like, the classic, I mean, as far as modes of travel are concerned, I honestly think flying is, like, my least favorite. Like, if I could drive and it would take the same amount of time as flying, even if it would just take double, like, even if I could just drive for, like, 5 hours and be in Florida, I'd be like, cool.
Yeah.
Or 10 hours to get to California. But obviously, it's not worth it to drive when you're going that far. I just hate flying.
Yeah.
As a large person, it's especially hard because you just, like, take up a lot of space and you feel bad if you're not sitting, like, next to somebody you know.
Right.
But even for small people, I think it's hard to get around those, like, carts. Like, if they're doing... And I feel like they're always either doing beverage service or, like, food service.
Or cleaning up.
Someone told me recently that she was flying and the person next to her put the, like, armrest thing up. And she was like, no. She's like, I don't know you. Put that down.
That's awkward.
Like, he was, like, a big guy, and she's like, no, I want the armrest.
So I was reading that for flying, everyone gets 2, like, perks. So if you're in the window, you get the window and the 1 armrest. If you're in the middle, you get 2 armrests. And if you're on the edge, you get 1 armrest and extra leg room.
Because you can put your leg in the aisle, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's the point.
But you can't really, because they'll kick
run it over.
Hit you. So yeah, that's typical. And then obviously Renee hates it when people clap when the plane lands. Although your reason for it is kind of weird.
I don't like it. Just not into it. Not really into clapping. It's not my thing.
Not into clapping?
No.
All right. You're into snapping? Like...
No, I'm not into poetry slam claps either.
What about golf claps?
No.
What about cheer claps?
No.
Do your best cheer clap, though.
Why? You want me to clap?
Yeah, I want to see how loud you clap.
Ready? Okay.
That's pretty good.
Thanks. I was a cheerleader.
Now, where's my house?
Your what? House. I was like, I don't know. Her house is that way.
Yes, you did. You're right. You're right.
I know, because I drive, and it's like 2 roads over. You looked it up on your
phone? You were like, wait, let me...
I looked it up on my bike map, so I can also tell you the topography. It's flat. There's no hills in this area.
No, we only get into the hills when we go visit the mountain people.
Yes, the rich, fancy mountain people. All right,
so we're going to talk, we just have our little segment about In Loco Parentis. So we're going to talk about a few funny stories from our childhood and from working with kids or being around kids. So first off, just kids on vacation in general.
Kids on vacay. So we always say that, okay, so our mom has like a running joke with her mom that her parents told her and her brothers they would take them on a vacation to Washington, D.C. when they were old enough to appreciate it, and they still haven't been on that vacation, even though they're all now in their 40s and 50s. So, but I think that is true, like trying to take your children or waiting till your children are old enough to appreciate a vacation to take it. If it's something you have to save up for. Obviously, if you have enough money to go on vacations all the time, it's whatever. But if you're saving up for like a big trip like Disney or something, you might want to wait till your kid is a little older so they can actually have the memories and enjoy it. Not that they won't enjoy it very much in the moment, but I went to Disney when I was 5 and I don't really remember much of it. And then I went again when we were older, and obviously I remembered a lot more, so it was a lot more fun for me in the long run.
I had a coworker who was thinking about going to Disney or going on a cruise, and it actually was a lot cheaper for them to do the cruise. And I said, I would do that because your son is, like, a little bit young, and I think he's just not going to really remember. Like, he'll have a great time.
Yes, of course.
People of all ages have a great time at Disney. But
he'll also have a great time on the cruise.
Yeah. So it's like, why spend all the money
everywhere.
if, like, he's not going to remember it? And especially if you think it's going to be something you're only going to really do once.
Right.
So, that's true. But another thing I had read was that parents are, like, always, like, they'll be asking their kids where they want to go, or, like, letting their kids make all the decisions about that kind of stuff. And the article was just, like, stop trying to just make your kids happy all the time. It's okay if they're not, like, always happy with the choice that you made. Like, you can go on a vacation that your kids didn't want to go to, and they'll be able to deal with it, and they'll still have a good time. And you can teach them skills about, like, doing stuff that other people enjoy. It's like, I don't know.
Which I mean, that's always kind of my philosophy on a lot of things where parents ask kids questions that I'm like, why are we letting the 3-year-old make the decisions? Like, there's 2 adults here and 1 child, and I don't think that we should be letting the toddler make the decisions for the family.
Like you said, if it's not really a choice, but they, like, want to ask them anyway just to make it seem to the kid like it's a choice, but you're like,
yeah, you just have to ask them the right way.
Well, if they say no, are you going to actually let them not do it? So it's like there's no point in asking them if the answer is going to be yes regardless. It's like you might as well just tell them in the right way.
Yes. Or ask them in such a way that that's the only possible answer.
Well, we're going to do this after you do that or before you do that. And I'm like, okay, after. And you're like, either way we did it. Right. So when we were in Grand Canyon, when I went to the Grand Canyon the first time, I saw there was a little boy there, and he was just like, wow, a moth.
So you thought he was in awe of this beautiful natural structure, and instead he was just in awe of the moth?
Yeah, he saw a cool moth.
Was it cool?
Yeah, I guess. It was a moth.
As cool as moths can be.
No, like, some are really cool. It was like a white feathered, white winged, like, it had white wing. It wasn't.
Did it have, like, furry antenna?
I'm sure it did. Not that it was, like, really visible.
Oh, not like those big ones that are, like, bushy eyebrow type antenna?
No.
Oh, so like a moderately cool moth.
It was pretty much for a moth, like, not that cool. But maybe he had never seen a moth up close.
Maybe.
Maybe it was really big.
Maybe he was just small. So then when we went to the Grand Canyon, there were some girls there taking pictures on their phone, and the one girl was, like, taking a nice shot of, like, the scenic view. And then the other girl was like, okay, so every time you take a picture, you have to think to yourself, how many likes is this going to get on Instagram? And I was like, definitely. Definitely how you should gauge everything in your life.
Oh, kids.
That's today's kids.
So one time we went down to the beach, and Renee forgot to pack shorts. So this was when we went with our dad. It was before our parents had a house. But when we were kids, we used to go down to the beach with our mom's family, like, for a week or two. But with our dad, we would take day trips. So we were down there, and we were showering afterwards, and Renee had forgotten her shorts. Yeah, so she just put, like, her cover-up back on, or she had the long shirt.
I just put a towel around my waist.
Yeah. And it was fine. So then the next time we went was maybe, like, a week later or something, or some point later in the summer. And I said, Renee, did you remember to bring shorts?
And I was like, yeah, I'm so smart. I brought a dress so that I couldn't forget anything.
And I was like, good idea. So then we're in the shower. And she's like, Jess? And I was like, yeah. She's like, I forgot underwear. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. So and it wasn't really a short dress. I mean, it was a short dress.
It was. But you were like 7 or 8, right?
Yeah, I was young.
So then my dad went to, like, a CVS. And all they had were, like, a women's size 8 underwear.
Yeah,
which was,
so
like,
they were
massive
huge.
On you.
Yeah.
And then but it wasn't like we were just going home, which would have been fine. You're, like, riding in the car with no underwear on, like, whatever. We were going to, like, our aunt and uncle's house for dinner.
Yeah.
And then, like, our cousin was older, and she, I think, had, like, similar size underwear. So they just, like, pinned, like, you did a safety pin or something.
Yeah,
like,
but it's still awkward because then you're, like, wearing your cousin's underwear, which is, like, weird enough. And then you have to also tell everyone, I'm not wearing underwear, which was embarrassing. So that was, like, always help your, I mean, but I don't know. I'm also a believer that you shouldn't always check, like, your kids' bags and stuff. But if there's something you know your kid needs and you know your kid's forgetful, just double check that they have it before you go. If it's going to make your life harder if they don't have it, like if it's their medicine or like, you know, something that they, like shoes, like appropriate footwear that they need to do certain activities. If it's something that's just going to inconvenience them, okay, whatever. But if it's like going to make your life harder, make sure they have it before you go. It's my advice.
That's true. So last summer we were at the beach, and Renee's stepson Finn, he's just becoming like more comfortable like getting in the water and like kind of riding the waves and everything.
Started boogie boarding.
Yeah, so I was kind of showing him like that he could catch some waves for riding, like that were kind of breaking on the shore, especially during like high tide. It was becoming high tide, so I was like, oh, you can kind of do them right on the edge here instead of having to like get in the water. So I kind of sent him in with a wave, but it really like pummeled him. He got pretty like he got dragged pretty far up the beach in it, and he stood up and he's like spinning and he's like whoa, and then I like checked him. He's okay. He's okay. And he's like, oh, there's sand in my crotch. There's sand in my crotch. Because like it literally looked like he was wearing a full diaper, because basically the sand got in from the top of his bathing suit and it got all caught in the netting. So then I'm like, had to put my hand up his leg and like
up his short
leg and try to like open up the netting so that the sand would fall. There's like big rocks falling out. And meanwhile he was just
there's like a crab out
running around screaming like, my crotch, there's sand in my crotch. And I'm like, where'd you even learn the term crotch? And all these people are just like cracking up.
Yeah, like, these old ladies were like laughing hysterically. I mean, it happens. Beach mishaps are kind of impossible to avoid. So sometimes when we were little, we'd like to go to the beach and like sit right at the water's edge and just like, let the waves kind of push you around as you're sitting down.
Yeah.
And we were doing that one day, and so much sand got into my bathing suit. And in girls' bathing suits, there's like a little lining thing. And literally, it was like so full of sand. I was like, I went from looking like a girl in this bathing suit to looking like a full-grown man in this bathing suit. It was so, and then I couldn't really get the sand out because it was like in between layers of the bathing suit.
Yeah.
So it's not like you could just like move it to the side. You'd have to like really dig around in there. So I was like, I'm just gonna have to leave this here for now. But
and then like whatever. I think something similar happened to me, and like one of our uncles was like, it looks like you pooped in your bathing suit, because it was like a big thing towards the back. Yeah. And I'm like, it's just sand.
I mean, another one of my beach horror stories was, I wasn't a kid. I was a grown lady, and I was coming in, and there was just a lot of waves, and it was pretty rough, and a wave knocked me down, and instinctually I reached out to grab for something to hold me up, and what I used to pull myself up was a man's swim trunks that then partially came down, and then my face was right in his crotch, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, and he's like, it's fine. I'm like, I just pantsed you on the beach. This is so inappropriate. He's like, it's really fine. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna let myself drift out to sea now and die of embarrassment. It was pretty bad, but that happens,
One time we were out there, and I was giving my friend, we were also adults, and I was giving my friend a horseback ride. So she was riding on my back, and I was like on my hands and knees running around. And I don't even know why we were doing this. We were like, for some weird reason. And this lady's just like, oh, that looks hard on the knees.
Yeah. Old ladies.
Like it was.
Oh, man. All right, so that's some of our travel stories. Anything else?
Well, we had the one about when we went to Niagara Falls with Dad.
Oh, so I was saying to Jess, sometimes it's so weird, like the things that you remember. So when we were younger, our dad would take us on a lot of camping trips. So that's like a lot of our vacations were camping trips. So we were going to Niagara Falls, apparently unbeknownst to my mother at the time. He just like took us out of the country. So before he needed passports to go to Canada.
No, he had to get
our birth certificates.
Our birth certificates from her. And she was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're going out of the country? And we're like, yeah.
We're going to Canada.
It's fine.
So we're like driving there, and our dad was kind of a trickster, so he was like saying stuff like, oh, I don't know, we're gonna have to like dig a hole in the woods to like pee, and he's like, we're gonna have to probably like catch our own food, and we're like, Dad, and he's like, okay, we can probably buy peanut butter and jelly, but I don't know if we're gonna have enough money for bread. And we're like, Dad, and he's like, I'm just kidding, and he had like made us sandwiches or whatever, but we like all remembered that, and then of course we like told him years later, and he's like, I don't even remember ever saying that. And
no, we were like, Dad,
yeah, Dad, because I'm just picturing like scooping peanut butter and jelly out of a jar with your hands, and like, I had peanut butter and jelly for dinner. Which, oh, well, then one of our other camping stories with Dad was we were at this camping site, and there was a lot of hornets. There was like, or just yellow jackets. I don't know what they were. There was a lot of them.
Same thing, I think, aren't they?
I don't know if they were honeybees or what, but there's a lot of bees or bee-type animals at our campsite, and we're like, oh my God, these bees are so annoying. And my dad has always been sort of like a little bit of an engineer with stuff like that. So he's like, oh, here's what you can do. Like, we were drinking a lot of brisk iced tea, and he's like, when you're drinking your brisk iced tea, when there's like a little bit left, don't finish it all, just like leave it, and then we're gonna put the cans like all around the campsite, so all the bees will go in there and drink the tea, and then like a lot of times they get stuck in the can because they can't like figure out how to get out. So that's like what we did. And he's like,
they drown, they die.
Remember how he's like, also remember to like always shake the can before you take a sip in case there's something in there. We're like, all right. So then we're like at the campfire one night and we're hanging out, and I go to take a sip of my brisk iced tea, and I go, and I just spit it out, and everyone's just staring at me like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, crying, and they're like, what is wrong with her? That must have been a bad brisk iced tea. But as you probably guessed, there was a bee in my can of iced tea, so when I drank, he stung me right on the roof of my mouth, and then I'm like crying because first of all, my mouth tasted like bee, which tastes pretty much like pollen, and that was gross. And then I had a stinger in the roof of my mouth, so my dad's like trying to get it. He's like trying to scrape it out with like a credit card or something, but it's like really hard to get it. I have a very small mouth. My dentist makes fun of me, so it's challenging to get to. And then like all night, I just had to like suck on ice cubes. Because every time I tried to talk, I'd be like, oh la la. They're like, we can't hear you, and I'd take my ice cube out and like say whatever I wanted to say. But it's pretty embarrassing. Thank God I'm not allergic to bees. It'd be like a double whammy.
That would have been really bad.
Yeah, it's terrible.
You're such a dweeb.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. Cool. So those are our stories, and now we just have one last little segment before we end. What's poppin' at the movies? Poppin' at the movies. You have to come up with better jingles.
So this week we watched Us.
Yes.
How'd you feel, Jess?
I was kind of disappointed. Like, I wanted it to be scarier, I think.
Yeah.
What about you?
I liked it. I feel like same. It could have been scarier. It was like kind of scary in the beginning, but like in a very like slasher movie kind of way.
Yeah.
But then like when the lady started like talking to her, it was like weird. And then it just got kind of like campy.
Yeah.
Like when, spoiler alert, when that other like family dies, it got like, it was like silly the way that they died. I feel like it wasn't like scary. It was just like goofy.
Right.
So. Yeah.
So if you don't want to hear spoilers, we're not going to give out like a lot of the major ones.
Yeah, I mean, people die. That's not really much of a spoiler.
Well, even though you just don't watch trailers. Like, Renee literally never watches trailers. Why don't you, like, watch a trailer of the movie after we watch it? Or before? Or after?
Well, I've seen a lot of trailers for this one.
Okay, well, they show those people dying or being dead in the trailer.
Okay, well, I probably didn't pay attention because I didn't know who they were at the time.
Well, if you watch it, you'll know when you talk about it that it's not really a spoiler.
All right, well, whatever.
Anyway.
These people might not watch trailers either. They don't know their life.
Yeah, but it's not a spoiler if it's in the trailer. That's
okay,
just like...
fair enough. There are weird animals outside. That's an animal.
Are you
That's
sure?
an airplane and an animal chittering, as Netflix would caption it. It was like...
Yeah, that was really weird sounding.
Yeah.
Okay, you have to walk me to my car.
When
I leave. Yes, you do. I'm like too scared now.
Oh my god, it's
like
I'm
a sleeping
bird.
over.
You're so ridiculous.
Anyway, it could be a werewolf.
Werewolves don't go. They go.
It could be a werewolf that's tricking you.
Okay, crafty werewolves.
Don't they go? Oh.
Yeah, probably.
We'll have to figure that out. Okay.
Anyway, we
I
liked it.
I thought it was interesting.
It was okay.
I thought it was good, and it is kind of on point because they are like on vacation. Where are they? Like Santa Cruz.
Yeah, Santa Cruz.
Yeah, so they're like at like a beach house or something that their family has. Yeah, I definitely think you could go see it.
Yeah,
It was interesting. Or wait till it comes out if you don't feel like seeing it in theaters.
I'd probably give it like 1 thumb up.
Same.
Like pretty good. Kind of knew what you were getting. Kind of predictable. There's like a twist ending. We kind of guessed it ahead of time, but it probably got some people by surprise.
Yeah, and then I was slightly confused at the end, but Renee explained it to me.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you can go see it.
Pretty
It's
good.
interesting.
Yeah.
It's whatever. It was like written and directed by Jordan Peele, and I don't know how to say her last name.
Lupita
N-Y-O-N, what?
I think it's like Ngoyo or something. Ngoyo.
And then Winston Duke plays her
husband.
Elizabeth Moss is in it. They play the friend. And then the children are played by Shahadi Wright Joseph and Evan Alex. So
yeah. It's pretty
interesting. I'd say go see it.
And it was like the highest grossing original horror movie.
Oh.
So,
interesting.
an opening weekend.
I guess it's a horror movie.
Yes, it's considered grown-up horror.
Oh. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, pretty cool.
All right, so next week we're going to talk about Game of Thrones.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is coming back April 13th, 14th. What date?
I don't know. April 21st, I think, or 14th. It's a Sunday, so 14th.
I think it's the 14th.
That's a Sunday.
Yeah, so we're going to be putting out our Game of Thrones episode a couple days. The Thursday before, so you can check it out. There will obviously be spoilers, so if you're not caught up,
don't listen or catch up and then listen.
Or don't care about spoilers. Yeah, so that's it. And we're going to talk about some of our favorite episode moments, maybe some book to show comparisons, some of our favorite characters, etc., etc.
Renee will do some impressions.
Definitely will not do that.
Okay.
I'll be Drogo.
Drogo?
I mean Drogon.
Oh my gosh.
I call him Drogo. That's his nickname. Don't you know?
Okay. No, didn't know. Guess I'm not a Drew fan.
Yeah, seriously.
Okay, so check us out on our YouTube channel, Deerfoot Sisters. Our website is deerfootsisters.com, facebook.com/deerfeetpodcast, Instagram and Twitter, Deerfoot Sisters, and you can email us at deerfootsisters@gmail.com. Make sure to tell your friends, give us a rating on Apple Podcasts. And thanks for listening, guys. We're the Deerfoot Sisters, and we're prancing away.
Prancing away.